There's a blacksmith who works in the hours when the world is asleep. His shop sits at the edge of a town where no one visits anymore, where the roads have forgotten their purpose and the buildings lean like exhausted men. The furnace glows red through the windows at 3 in the morning, and if you're driving past, maybe you're running from something, or maybe you just can't sleep, you'll see the sparks rising like angry stars against the darkness. No one knows his name, but everyone who's ever been broken knows his work. Because he doesn't forge swords or gates or decorative pieces for wealthy homes. He forges something else, something you can't see until you need it most. He works with the raw material that most smiths refuse to touch, the kind that's been shattered, compromised, the kind that's already failed once. The kind that looks like you when you stare in the mirror at 4 in the morning, eyes hollow, wondering how you got here. See, here's what they don't tell you about breaking. It's not the fall that defines you. It's not the impact. It's not even the lying there in pieces, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of every mistake pressed down on your chest until you can't breathe. No, it's what you do in the space between breaking and becoming. That's where the forge lives. That's where the real work begins. Let me take you back to a moment. Maybe it's your moment. Maybe it's someone else's, but it's real. It happened. It's still happening. You're 28 years old. Or maybe you're 47. The number doesn't matter because the feeling is the same. You've just lost something. Maybe it's the job you spent 10 years building toward, the one that was supposed to prove to everyone, to your parents, to your ex, to that voice in your head that says you're not enough, that you made it. But the email came, the phone call, the conversation that started with, "We need to talk," and ended with your heart in your stomach and your hands shaking so hard you couldn't hold your coffee cup. Or maybe it's not the job. Maybe it's the person, the one you built your entire future around, the one whose name is carved into every plan you made, every dream you dreamed. And now they're gone. Not dramatically, not with some cinematic goodbye, just gone. Their side of the bed cold, their contact in your phone like a grave you keep visiting. Or maybe it's your body. Maybe it's the diagnosis, the word the doctor said that you didn't even fully understand, but your body did. Your body started grieving before your mind caught up. And now you're standing in your kitchen looking at the pills, looking at the calendar marked with appointments, looking at a future that suddenly got very short or very painful or both. Maybe it's your mind. Maybe the depression that you fought off for years finally won. Maybe the anxiety that you managed, that you held at bay with routines and breathing exercises and positive thinking, finally crashed through the walls, and now you're drowning in your own thoughts, and every morning is a war just to get out of bed. And you're so tired, so impossibly tired, and you don't know if you can fight anymore. Whatever it is, whoever you are, you're broken right now, and you know it. Because there's a difference between hurt and broken. Hurt is temporary. Hurt heals. But broken means something fundamental changed, something cracked that you're not sure can be fixed. And in that moment, in that space where you're sitting in the wreckage of what used to be your life, you have two choices. Just two. That's it. You can stay in the ruins. You can make a home out of your breaking. You can tell the story over and over. How you were wronged, how you were hurt, how life is unfair, how you never got the chances other people got. You can build walls out of your wounds and call it protection. You can wear your scars like armor and push away anyone who tries to get close, because hell, if you don't let anyone in, they can't hurt you again, right? That's one choice. And I won't lie to you, a lot of people make that choice. A lot of people live their entire lives in the museum of their own trauma, giving tours to anyone who'll listen, never moving forward because moving forward means leaving the broken pieces behind, and the broken pieces are all they know now. But there's another choice, and it's harder, so much harder, because it requires something that feels impossible when you're lying in the wreckage. It requires you to stand up, not metaphorically. Actually stand up, get your feet under you, feel the ground. Feel how solid it is, even though you're shaking. Even though every part of you says stay down, it's safer down here. You can't be broken again if you never get up. Stand up anyway. Because here's what the blacksmith knows that you've forgotten. The breaking isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. Every piece of metal he works with, every sword that's ever meant anything, every tool that's ever lasted, every creation that's ever endured, it started as ore, rough, impure, weak. And what does he do with it? He breaks it down, he melts it, he heats it until it's molten, until there's no form, no structure, nothing recognizable. And then, while it's liquid and formless and vulnerable, while it's nothing but potential, he begins to shape it. He hammers it, he folds it, he heats it again. He plunges it into cold water and it screams, it hisses, it resists. He does it again, and again, and again, and every time it gets stronger. Every time it gets sharper, every time it becomes more than it was. But here's the part they don't show you in the motivational videos. That process hurts. The metal doesn't want to be hammered. It doesn't want to be heated. It doesn't choose the forge. But the forge is where transformation lives. The forge is where weak becomes strong, dull becomes sharp, broken becomes unbreakable. You are in the forge right now. And I know you didn't choose it. I know you didn't wake up one day and say, you know what? I think I'll have everything fall apart. I know you didn't ask for this, but you're here anyway. The fire is around you, the hammer is coming down, and you have a choice about what comes next. There's a story about a real man, not some motivational metaphor, who lost everything in a single year. His business collapsed, not slowly, not with warning signs he could have fixed. It collapsed like a building in an earthquake, sudden and total. 23 employees, gone. 15 years of work, gone. His retirement fund, his son's college savings, his ability to look his wife in the eye without feeling like a failure, gone. And the thing is, he did everything right. He worked harder than everyone around him. He made smart decisions. He sacrificed weekends and holidays and his daughter's soccer games. He played by the rules. And the rules betrayed him. The economy shifted. His biggest client went bankrupt. 2 suppliers went under, and like dominoes, everything fell. He didn't tell anyone for 3 months. Every morning he got dressed in his suit. He kissed his wife goodbye. He got in his car and drove to the office building he no longer owned. He sat in his car in the parking lot for 8 hours. Then he drove home. He did this for 93 days. On day 94, his wife found him sitting in the dark in their living room at 2 in the morning. Not crying, not moving, just sitting. And she turned on the light and sat down next to him and waited. Just waited. Because she knew, the way you know when someone you love is standing on the edge, that whatever came next would determine everything. And after an hour of silence, he finally spoke. He said, "I have nothing left." And she said, "That's not true." And he said, "No, you don't understand. I have nothing. No business, no savings, no prospects, no plan, nothing." And she took his hand, this man who'd built everything and lost everything, and she said, "You have the ability to start again. You've always had that. You still have that. They can take your business. They can take your money. They can take your title. But they can't take what you did with nothing the first time. They can't take your ability to build. That's still here. That's still yours." He told me this story years later, after he'd rebuilt. Not the same business, something different, something smaller but more meaningful. And he said the reason he tells that story isn't because of the happy ending. It's because of what happened in that moment when his wife reminded him who he was beneath what he'd lost. He said he felt the weight lift, not all of it, not even most of it. But enough to breathe, enough to think, enough to consider that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't done yet. That's the moment I need you to get to. That moment where you realize that everything you've lost, every way you've broken, it's not the sum total of who you are. It's not even close. You think you're broken. Let me tell you about broken. There's a woman who was told at 32 that she'd never walk again. Spinal injury. 3 surgeons confirmed it. Her athletic career, over. Her independence, over. Her identity as someone who moved through the world with strength and confidence, over. They fitted her for a wheelchair. They sent a social worker to talk about adaptation. They spoke in soft voices about her new normal. She spent 6 months believing them, 6 months learning to navigate a world that wasn't built for her anymore, 6 months grieving the person she used to be. And then one morning she woke up angry, not sad, not resigned, angry, furious at the unfairness, furious at the pity in people's eyes, furious at the assumption that this was her ending. And she called a physical therapist, someone who hadn't worked with her before, who didn't know her story, and she said, "I need you to help me try something they say is impossible." And that therapist said, "Okay." Not, "I'll try." Not, "We'll see." Just, "Okay." It took 4 years. 4 years of pain that most people can't imagine. 4 years of falling. 4 years of incremental progress so small that most people would have quit. 4 years of everyone telling her to accept her limits. 4 years of her body screaming stop and her mind whispering you can't, and her heart saying one more day, just one more day. And on a random Tuesday that nobody marked on a calendar, she stood up from her wheelchair. And she took a step. Just one, shaking, supported, barely controlled, but a step. And then another, and another. She doesn't run anymore. Maybe she never will. But she walks. She walks to the grocery store. She walks in the park. She walks her daughter to school. She walks because she refused to let broken be the end of her story. Now, I'm not telling you this so you'll feel bad about your problems. I'm not playing Pain Olympics. I'm telling you this because you need to understand something fundamental about what it means to be human. We are built for this. Not for comfort, not for ease, not for lives where everything works out and nothing hurts, and we just coast from birth to death on a wave of good luck and privilege. We're built for the forge. We're built for the breaking and the remaking. We're built to take damage and adapt, to take loss and recalibrate, to take impossible odds and find a way anyway. Every single human who's ever lived has faced a moment where they thought they couldn't continue. Every single one. Your ancestors, the ones who survived famine, war, disease, loss, exile, persecution, every horror history could throw at them. They all had moments where they wanted to quit, where they thought about giving up, where the pain was too much and the future was too dark and continuing seemed impossible. But they didn't quit. They couldn't. Because if they had, you wouldn't be here. You are the product of an unbroken chain of people who faced the fire and walked through it. That's in your blood. That's in your DNA. That capacity to endure, to adapt, to keep going. It's not something you have to find. It's already there. It's been there the whole time. You just forgot. The world made you forget. Because the world sells comfort. It sells ease. It sells you the idea that you should never struggle, never hurt, never face anything difficult. And the moment you do, the moment life hits you with something real, something hard, you think you're broken because you were never supposed to feel this way. But that's a lie. The struggle isn't evidence of your failure. It's evidence of your aliveness. Dead things don't struggle. Dead things don't feel pain. Dead things don't lie awake at 3 in the morning, wrestling with their choices and their fears and their futures. You're struggling because you're alive. You're hurting because you care. You're scared because what happens next matters to you. And that's not weakness. That's not brokenness. That's being human. But here's where it gets hard. Here's where most people lose the thread. Feeling human isn't enough. Understanding that you're built for this isn't enough. Knowing that your ancestors survived worse isn't enough. You have to do something. You have to take the knowledge and turn it into action. You have to take the pain and turn it into fuel. You have to take the breaking and turn it into becoming. And nobody can do that for you. Nobody can walk this path but you, not your friends, not your family, not your therapist, not some voice on the internet. They can support you. They can encourage you. They can stand beside you. But the work, the actual getting up, showing up, doing the next thing, that's yours alone. So let me ask you something, and I need you to really sit with this question. What are you willing to do? Not what you hope will happen, not what you wish someone else would do for you. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to get up tomorrow morning, even though everything in you says there's no point? Are you willing to try again, even though you failed before? Are you willing to ask for help, even though it feels like weakness? Are you willing to face the fear that's been controlling you? Are you willing to have the conversation you've been avoiding? Are you willing to make the change you know you need to make? Are you willing to walk away from what's comfortable into what's necessary? Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Nothing changes until you change. Nothing moves until you move. Nothing begins until you begin. You can read every book. You can watch every video. You can collect every piece of advice and wisdom and inspiration. But if you don't act, if you don't take that knowledge and turn it into movement, nothing happens. You stay broken. You stay stuck. You stay in the ruins of your old life, waiting for someone to come rescue you. And nobody's coming. That's not cruelty. That's not abandonment. That's just reality. The rescue you're waiting for has to come from inside you. There's a moment in every hero's journey, every real one, not the Hollywood version, where the hero realizes they're alone. The mentor is gone. The allies are scattered. The magic sword doesn't work. The prophecy was wrong. And they're standing face to face with the thing they've been running from, and there's no one left to save them. And they have a choice: fall or fight. Every person who's ever become someone they're proud of has faced that moment. And the ones who made it through, the ones whose stories inspire us, they all did the same thing. They didn't find some hidden reserve of strength. They didn't suddenly become fearless. They didn't discover they had superpowers. They just decided. They decided that giving up hurt more than continuing. They decided that dying with their hands up wasn't an option. They decided that even if they failed, even if it didn't work, even if they fell again, they were going down fighting. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. A decision. And you might say, it's not that simple. You don't know my situation. You don't know what I'm dealing with. You don't know how deep the hole is that I'm in. You're right, I don't. But I know this. Whatever hole you're in, someone's been in deeper and climbed out. Whatever weight you're carrying, someone's carried heavier and survived. Whatever darkness you're walking through, someone's walked through darker and found light. I'm not saying that to diminish your pain. I'm saying it to remind you that you're not uniquely broken. You're not the first person to face this. And every person who faced it before you and made it through, they had the same doubts you have, the same fears, the same voices telling them to quit. The only difference between you and them is what they did next. So what are you going to do next? Right now, today. What's the first move? Maybe it's getting out of bed. Maybe it's taking a shower. Maybe it's making one phone call you've been putting off. Maybe it's applying for one job. Maybe it's having one honest conversation. Maybe it's going for one walk. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's saying no to something that's been destroying you. Maybe it's saying yes to something that scares you. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to solve everything. It just has to be movement. It just has to be proof to yourself that you're not done, that you're not giving up, that you're still in the fight. Because here's what happens when you make that first move. You remember who you are, not who you were before the breaking, not who you wish you were, who you actually are, underneath all the pain and fear and doubt. You're the person who's survived everything life's thrown at you so far. You're the person who's still here, still breathing, still capable of trying. You're the person who's reading these words right now, looking for a reason to keep going. And the fact that you're looking means you haven't given up. Not completely. Not yet. There's still a part of you that believes things can get better. There's still a part of you that wants to fight. That part, that small, stubborn, unreasonable part that refuses to quit. That's the part I'm talking to right now. That's the part that's going to save you. Not me, not these words, not some miracle. You, that part of you that's still alive in there, still fighting, still hoping. That's what you need to listen to. That's what you need to feed. That's what you need to protect. Because the world is going to give you 1,000 reasons to quit. People are going to tell you to be realistic. Circumstances are going to seem impossible. Your own mind is going to betray you, showing you every past failure, every reason why you can't, every way this could go wrong. And you're going to have to ignore all of it. Not because it's wrong. Some of it might even be right. But because none of it matters compared to the one thing that's actually true. You're not done yet. Your story isn't over. Your potential isn't used up. Your purpose isn't fulfilled. There are people you haven't helped yet. There are experiences you haven't had yet. There are versions of yourself you haven't become yet. And the only way you get to meet those versions, the only way you get to live those experiences, the only way you get to help those people, is to walk through this fire. There's no way around it. There's no shortcut. There's no skipping to the good part. This is the good part, this right here, this moment where you're broken and scared and you don't know how it's going to work out. This is where the transformation happens. This is where weak becomes strong, where victim becomes victor, where broken becomes unbreakable. But you have to be willing to endure the process. You have to be willing to stay in the forge. You have to be willing to be hammered and heated and plunged into cold water over and over again. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable, to be uncertain, to be afraid, and keep going anyway. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to hurt. There are going to be days when you think you can't do this. Days when you think you made a mistake, when you should have just stayed down, when this was a stupid idea and you're just making it worse. Those days are part of the process. They're not evidence that you're failing. They're evidence that you're transforming. Because transformation hurts, change hurts, growth hurts. If it didn't, everyone would do it. But most people quit right before the breakthrough. Most people endure 90% of the pain and then give up when they're one step from the summit. Most people walk through the darkness for so long and then turn around right before dawn. Don't be most people. Don't quit when it gets hard. Quit when it's done. And it's not done until you say it's done. There's a concept in metallurgy called work hardening. It's what happens when metal is deformed. The more you bend it, the more you stress it, the harder it becomes. It's counterintuitive. You'd think that stressing something makes it weaker. But with the right materials, under the right conditions, stress makes it stronger. You are that material. Your life right now is applying that stress. And you're becoming harder, stronger, more resilient. Not in spite of the breaking, but because of it. Every time you get back up, you're harder to knock down. Every time you face the fear, you're less afraid. Every time you do the hard thing, the next hard thing gets easier. Not easy, but easier. And that matters. That's how you build a life worth living. Not by avoiding hard things, not by staying comfortable, but by facing the hard things and proving to yourself that you can survive them. And then facing harder things, and surviving those too. And on until you look back one day and realize that the person you are now could have carried the weight that almost destroyed you years ago without breaking a sweat. That's who you're becoming. That's who's being forged in this fire. Someone stronger, someone wiser. Someone who knows what they're capable of because they've been tested. Someone who knows that breaking isn't the end because they've been broken and rebuilt. That person is worth the pain. That person is worth the struggle. That person is worth staying in the forge. And here's the beautiful, terrible truth. You don't get to become that person without walking through this. You don't get the strength without carrying the weight. You don't get the wisdom without making the mistakes. You don't get the resilience without facing the failure. This is the price. This is what it costs. And yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's unfair. But it's also necessary. Because the version of you that makes it through this, that survives this, that thrives after this, that person couldn't exist without this. So when you're lying in bed at 3 in the morning, when the weight is crushing you, when you can't see a way forward, when every voice in your head is telling you to quit, remember that. Remember that the person you're becoming is being shaped right now, in this moment, in this pain, in this impossible situation. And remember that the blacksmith in the dark shop at the edge of town, the one who works while the world sleeps, he's not torturing the metal. He's not punishing it. He's transforming it. He's taking something weak and making it strong, something dull and making it sharp, something broken and making it unbreakable. And when he's done, when the work is complete, when the blade is perfect, he holds it up to the light and you can see it. All the folds, all the layers, all the times it was heated and hammered and cooled. You can see the history of its transformation written in the patterns of the steel. And it's beautiful, not despite the process, but because of it. You will be beautiful too. not the easy beauty of something untested, the hard-earned beauty of something that's been through the fire and survived, the kind of beauty that makes people stop and look closer, that makes them ask, "What's your story? How did you become this?" And you'll tell them, and your story will give them permission to endure their own fire. Your survival will prove that it's possible. Your transformation will light the way for someone else who's standing in the dark, wondering if they should give up. That's what's at stake here. Not just your life, not just your future, but everyone who needs your story to survive their own. Everyone who needs proof that broken doesn't mean done. Everyone who needs to see someone make it through the thing they're going through right now. You don't get to quit. Not because you're not allowed to. You can quit anytime you want. But because quitting means they don't get your story, they don't get your proof, they don't get your light. And the world has enough quitters. The world has enough people who gave up, who stayed in the ruins, who let the breaking define them. The world needs more people who walked through the fire and came out changed but not destroyed, stronger but not harder, wiser but not bitter, scarred but not broken. The world needs you, not the version of you that existed before this. That person couldn't handle what's coming. That person wasn't ready. But the version of you that's being forged right now, that person is going to be exactly what the world needs. So stay in the forge, stay in the fire, let it hurt, let it change you, let it transform you. Because on the other side of this, and there is another side, I promise you there's another side, you're going to look back and understand why it had to be this way, why it had to hurt this much, why you had to lose what you lost and face what you faced and endure what you endured. And you'll realize that you wouldn't change it, because changing it would mean not becoming who you are. And who you are, who you're becoming, is worth everything it took to get there. This is your forge. This is your transformation. This is your becoming. Don't waste it by giving up. Don't waste it by quitting. Don't waste it by staying down. Stand up. Even if you're shaking, even if you're scared, even if you don't know what comes next. Stand up, because standing up is how it starts. Standing up is the first move. Standing up is the decision that everything else flows from. Stand up and take a step, just one, then another, and before you know it, you're walking. And then you're running. And then you're flying. And then you're flying. And then you look back, and the place where you broke, the place where you thought you'd die, it's so far behind you that you can barely see it anymore. That's your future. That's what's waiting. But you have to walk through today to get there. You have to survive this moment. You have to make the decision right now, in this breath, with whatever strength you have left, that you're not done. Say it, out loud, right now. I'm not done. Again, I'm not done. One more time. I'm not done. Good. Hold on to that. Write it down. Tattoo it on your soul. Because that's the truth. That's the only truth that matters. Everything else is negotiable. Everything else can change. But that truth, that you're not done, that you're still here, that you're still fighting, that's unshakable. You're not done. Your story is still being written. Your transformation is still in progress. Your potential is still waiting to be realized. And the only person who can stop it is you. So don't. Don't stop. Don't quit. Don't give up. Stay in the forge. Stay in the fight. Stay in the story. Because the world is waiting to see what you become. And I promise you, it's going to be worth the wait. If this story touched something in you, if it reminded you of your own strength, consider subscribing. It helps us bring more stories like this to people who need them.